49ers Ultimate Report. This is John J., your 49ers reporter, opinionist, analyst, and die-hard fan. Welcome to another episode of the 49ers Ultimate Report. I am John J., and before we jump into the episode, I want to give a major shout-out to all of my subscribers, those who have been following me. Uh, those who've been following me, I appreciate your great ultimate support. You guys are the best. You guys support me on my live streams, on all my great shows. I'm glad that you guys are on here today uh, to talk some 49ers Seahawks football with my second episode of my second season uh, on of my 49ers versus opponent debate slash preview series. So I'm very excited. I want to shout out the Bears podcasters, good dude. One is a radio personnel out of the Chicago area, and one is my boy Keek on the mic. So I want to shout out them for them being on the show. So I am very excited to continue this series on for my second season on the 49ers Ultimate Report. Today, we got my boy Steezy in the building. I see him. He's in the chat. What's up, Steezy? I will get you in just a quick moment. Let me say what's up to all of my supporters in the chat. Bryant is in the building. What is up, Bryant? How are you doing? Thanks for tuning in. He says, what's up, John J.? And then we got my boy Tommy. He says, what's up? Oh, man. Shout out to Tom. He's in the building. And what's up, Steezy? Hopefully, I'm going to get you in just a quick second. Let me shout out. What's up, Crazy Juice? Thanks for tuning in to the show. All right. Let me get my boy Steezy in the building. He needs no introductions. Let me go give him the code for him to hop on. All right. Sorry about the delay. And don't worry, we're going to have a good show. And let me apologize on my end for not getting the show started in time. But let me just drop the link for my boy Steezy. All right. And he will be popping in here just a quick second. Let me go back to the comments. Gavin, the notorious G-A-V is in the building. What is up, my boy Gavin, who's in the building? He said, let's go, faithful. And shout out to my boy Gavin. I hope you're doing all right. I know you said that Kyle Juszczyk was going to be the captain. It didn't happen, so I really feel your pain, man. I really wanted my boy Kyle Juszczyk to be a captain. And, of course, I know Roquan Smith did not get slammed on the ground. So, hopefully you're doing all right there, Gavin. Brian says, what's up, Tommy? Everyone is saying what's up to each other in the building. Can't wait to watch another season. We're under the utilities of Juszczyk. All right. Everyone is saying what's up to everyone in the chat. Cool. All right, let's bring in my boy Steezy. What's up, man? Thanks for tuning into the show.
Yo, what's up, John?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Sorry I'm coming a little late, but that link wasn't working.
Yeah. Again, sometimes StreamYard, does its things, but I'm glad that you're finally in here. But first of all, I want to give you a shout out because for those who did not know, I was on that NFC West roundtable thing that the Arizona, the AZ, Payo, and of course our boy CG Ruthless. When you guys invited me to talk Seahawks 49ers, so I was really honored. So thank you very much, Steezy, for inviting me. CG said that it was you guys who wanted me on, so I wanted to say thank you for having me on that show.
Hey, of course, John. I know a lot of guys that represent the 49ers, but you're definitely one of the guys that I'd, love to have conversations with. We've done this, I don't know how many times now, but, I love working with you. So thanks for having me on.
Yep. David says, what's up, faithful John, Jay, and Steezy? So he's probably a fan as well. All right, let's jump right into the show. Of course, this is the 49ers and Seahawks. Tomorrow is the game. But before we jump in, I wanted to clarify something. So for those who have lived in the Bay Area for so many years, like myself, apparently there is a storm that just for whatever just popped out of the blue and is moving into the Bay Area very rapidly, very, very quickly. So I was watching all the news, and basically a storm that started off way up at the Alaska, up there, up not Alaska, up at the North Pole, has decided to just fly by into the Bay Area. So it looks like there's going to be rain. So it's going to be basically playing like in Seattle, because I hear it rains up there in Seattle. So looks like we're going to have some rain tomorrow. Don't know. Uh, but this is rare here in the Bay Area. We don't get no rain in the Bay Area. So I wanted to start off with that. So let's start off, of course, talking about our games last week. I know I've talked about it a million times already. I know you've talked about it a million times, but I want to get your thoughts. I know you saw the film afterwards, the highlights of all the games. So I want to get your thoughts, a Seahawks fan, someone who talks about the team. What did you see? Were you impressed? Well, was there something new that you saw since the last time we spoke?
And then you're talking about the Seahawks week 1 win over the Broncos?
Yes.
Man, obviously I'm still over here, just trying to enjoy the moment, trying to enjoy that victory. Obviously, it's not something I want to dwell on. It's something that I do want to, move past and kind of put in the past, keep in the past, just because, it is the NFL and life does come at you fast. And so, yeah, it's not something I want to dwell on, but it was a good dub, good victory. Obviously, I think, as everyone knows, that was Seattle Super Bowl, and Seattle came out on top like they should have. But I'd be lying if I said that I expected that. And, I didn't expect Seattle to come out on top. I did expect there to be a close game, and so I was right in that regard. But for Seattle to come out on top, I mean, it meant the world, obviously to be able to stick in Russell Wilson's face, to say that, in that revenge game, we came out on top. The Seattle Seahawks came out on top and not Russell Wilson. 12s everywhere are still ecstatic, but we got to make sure that we're not, hung over, because we do still have a matchup against, obviously, our bitter division rivals in the San Francisco 49ers. But yeah, no Russell Wilson, but you got Geno Smith, you got China Nwosu, you got Charles Cross, Abe Lucas, obviously DK and Tyler Lockett's still there. No Jamal Adams or Quandre Diggs, Mike Jackson. There's a bunch of guys that I can name, but I felt like there was a whole bunch of stars, that are, being uncovered in Seattle, and we're about to see them in week 2 against the Niners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I saw that entire game, because for a lot of people who do not know, ESPN for the last 15 years, they've been only covering Monday Night Football. But this was the first time it was significant, 15 years, and I saw that game, and I saw every snap on that game. And Geno Smith was playing great. I'm like, I don't know what happened, because there was a preseason game you guys played against the Chicago Bears. And, of course, we had to deal with the Chicago Bears. And they were like, man, saying a lot of mean things about you during that preseason game. But I will not bring that up, because, who cares about the Bears? Because we're playing you guys. So the Niners are focusing on you guys. And they were like, and I was like, man, Geno Smith did not look really good in that game. I don't know what happened in the preseason. And then he just had probably his best football game, because Geno Smith, I remember when he was drafted, he was very negative, in his first press conference. He fired his agent. He was like very, very undisciplined. And then he did go to the Jets, but that was probably like either one or maybe his best game. And he did not look horrible. The numbers don't say he had a really good game, but he did not look horrible. He played really good. He moved the ball down the field, and he did what he was supposed to do. That Homer guy, of course, we know him from last year, what he did to us. But Homer, 5 yards to carry, only 12 carries, very limited carries, 60 yards, performed really well. And your defense did really good, forcing turnovers. And you guys didn't have Jamal Adams, because I saw him walk off the field. He got hurt. So the defense did it without Jamal Adams. You guys don't have Bobby Wagner no more. That was a good victory. So that's my thoughts on that game. Now, the thoughts on my football game, which I've said a lot. I was disappointed that we lost to the Bears. I can go on and on about it, but I've already said my piece. Trey Lance had some great moments, but he had a lot of rookie moments. So we're going to see that probably in this game as well. Elijah Mitchell got hurt. That hurt the Niners. Debo carried the ball a lot. Looks like he does not care if he's a running back. And, of course, our defense, Oh man, in the second half, 7 penalties, 12 overall penalties, 99 yards, and we gave the Bears a lot of free opportunities. And I'm just going to keep it simple like that. So that's just my thoughts on the Seahawks and the 49ers. All right, let me go back to the comments. All right. Tommy says, gotta head out soon, but it's always good to see Seahawks fans like Steezy and Sam Dog. Yep. Cool, cool, cool. Let's see. Gavin says, is Kyle Shanahan's seat getting warmer if we lose to the he calls them seat. Wow, that's a little bit harsh. A little bit harsh. Oh man. Tommy says, not for a few years. All right, everyone is saying what's up in the chat. David says, chilling, cutting my hair, listening to you, the faithful. Life is grand. What's up, Notorious? All right, Extreme Fishing Sports. What's up? All right, this is the first time I've seen this tag on my channel. How are you doing? Thank you for tuning in. Must be a Seahawks fan. I see a Seahawks logo. All right, Notorious Gavin says, so we are going to let Shanahan have another losing season. I hope not, Gavin. I hope. I don't want to think about that. All right, now let's talk about some key players for the 49ers and Seahawks. And you have to educate me on the Seahawks again. All I know is Jamal Adams. I know your wide receivers, but outside of that and Geno Smith, outside of that, I don't really know the Seahawks. And of course, I know the 49ers, and you know the 49ers as well. What are some key players that you want to spotlight to let the 49er faithful know these guys are good? Let's not forget that we got some good players. So let the fans know some key players to watch with the Seattle Seahawks.
Yes, sir. I'd love to do the honors for that. Uchenna Nwosu. Let's start off with the reigning NFC Defensive Player of the Week in Uchenna Nwosu, who the Seattle Seahawks did sign away from the LA Chargers. And oh my gosh, was he just absolutely disruptful in Week 1? He had 7 sacks, a forced fumble. He had a sack on Russell Wilson. He had a pass deflection. He was just all over the place playing that spiral. And I thought he did a magnificent job. I know, and I don't know if you remember 49er Dion, but he was on the NFC West roundtable that we were on the other day, and he talked about how you guys have the triple Bs, in your guys' offensive line, the 3 rookies in the interior line, the left guard, the center, and the right guard. I just want to let you know right now, watch out for Uchenna Nwosu, number 10, because like I said, the reigning NFC Defensive Player of the Week was just absolutely wreaking havoc last week. And if you guys are starting, with 3 inexperienced guys on the offensive line who didn't look very bright, who didn't look very good against the Chicago Bears last week, then definitely watch out. Obviously, another guy to watch out for. He's not new in Seattle, but number 52, Daryl Taylor. He's coming off 2 quarterback hits against the Denver Broncos. Didn't have any other sacks, or he didn't have any sacks. Didn't really make much noise elsewhere, but I know he's hungry. He's eager to kind of prove that, I didn't have the best of weeks last week. He wants to come in and definitely do his thing. I think he could push for 10-plus sacks this year, and it's probably going to start in Week 2 against the Niners, especially given some of the weaknesses that I saw, that some other 49ers fans saw in the interior of the offensive line. Mike McGlinchey is back and healthy, but he also didn't look, his best against the Bears. And obviously the best offensive lineman in the league, Trent Williams, needs no introduction. He needs no talk. He's going to do his thing. He's going to hold things down there on the left side, but one man can only do so much. So definitely be sure to be on the lookout for Daryl Taylor, number 52, Uchenna Nwosu, number 10. Another guy that I want to spotlight, Mike Jackson, number 30, Seattle's other cornerback. He's the one who forced those 2 fumbles, at the Denver goal line. He also had a fumble recovery, and he was just a run stuffer at cornerback. And he was definitely holding his own in coverage as well. He's coming over from the New England Patriots. I still have a lot of things to learn about the man myself, but Mike Jackson, number 30, opposite, our other starting cornerback, rookie Tariq Woolen, number 7. And actually, let's just touch on Tariq Woolen as well, 6'4". He 210, runs a 4.26 40-yard dash. He also more than just held his own in Seattle last week. I mean, this guy was just absolutely phenomenal. Yes, he drew 2 pass interference penalties / calls, but on 4 targets, he allowed 0 catches. And his pass rating they allowed was under 60. And so there's a lot of stars here. I know there's no more Russell Wilson. There's no more Bobby Wagner. Obviously, there's no more Jamal Adams. But Uchenna Nwosu, Mike Jackson, Josh Jones, the replacement for Jamal Adams at safety, number 42. Cody Barton, number 57, all over the place last week, 10 tackles. He had a sack, also had a pass deflection, I believe. And obviously, as we know, Jordan Brooks, who was second in the NFL in tackles last year with 183. He's going to keep doing his thing. There are a couple of guys I could talk about offensively, but defensively, I think there's a lot of guys to spotlight here.
Mhm. All right, Seahawks Eddie is in the building. What's up, my boy?
Yo, what up,
Yeah,
Eddie?
the nicest Seahawks fan. I'm so glad I got to know him. I've spoken to him. Good dude. He knows his stuff as well. All right, so I got something to ask you some questions. And Luigi, what's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. How to stop Hawks running game. And so I want to ask you first. I know you do watch the 49ers games a lot. You do watch, and I also watch Seahawks games. But what do our defensive players have to do to stop your run game? Because Homer, may not have had the big running back numbers. He still averaged 5 yards a carry. So what do we have to do to stop your running backs?
Rashad Penny, you mean?
Yeah, or
Right.
yeah.
Rashad Penny. No, I know who you meant. And yeah, I mean, like you talked about 5 yards of carry last week, he just looked explosive. He was hitting the holes. He didn't have a whole lot of touches. And he didn't really need it. Actually, no, I take that back. He definitely needed it because I think the more that he gets the ball, the better that he gets. But how to stop that Seahawks ground game? I think that's a great question. That's a lovely question. I think one way you stop it is you got to stuff the box. You got to put 8 guys in the box because you know what Seattle wants to do. And you know that Seattle, particularly Geno Smith, isn't going to be a threat down the field, and throwing the long ball, throwing the deep ball. And so if you want to stop the run, I'd say, or one of the things I would suggest is you got to load up the box. You got to keep 8, 9 guys there. And, we talked about this earlier, but you guys have the personnel. You guys have the reputation on defense. You guys have D'Amico Ryans as your defensive coordinator. You guys have dogs on defense. And so the one thing that I would suggest is, look, load up the box because you want to force Geno Smith to beat you, not the ground game.
Yeah. And I do want to clarify when I was looking at the numbers, I thought it was Travis Homer. I apologize. It was Rashard Penny. So I will take that as a little mulligan on my part. So, yeah, I think for me, how I would answer Luigi's question is that it's going to come down to Javon Kinlaw. Last week, early in the game, he got hurt. Low injury concern that really worries me when it comes to Javon Kinlaw. But when Javon Kinlaw is there and Eric Armstead in the middle, those guys really, really do stop the run. So I do hope that Javon Kinlaw plays well. Because if he doesn't play well, Travis Homer, or Penny will have really, really good games. So as long as we have those guys there, I think that's the best way to stop them. Now, for me, for the 49ers, there's a lot of players to spotlight. Again, this is a championship caliber team. Last week, we looked like we were the worst team in our division, the way we played against the Chicago Bears. But there's still good players on this team. George Kittle was practicing on Friday. That's a positive for the 49ers. Hopefully, they clear him just before the game starts to play. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Juwan Jennings. Hopefully, they have Danny Gray activated. Just so many players on the offense. Trent Williams on that side. And then, of course, Kyle Juszczyk. There's just a lot of players. Talk about the 49ers on the offense. And then the 49ers defense, Nick Bosa, Javon Kinlaw, Eric Armstead, Samson Ebukam, Fred Warner. There's just so many names on that defense that I can spotlight. But when it comes to the 49ers, we just have a lot of players. And this game is going to be really important because if we do lose this game, Kyle Shanahan will be thrown under the bus. And then the big questions are going to go back to when does Jimmy take over that job? Because they committed the long term for Trey Lance. So this is going to be a very important game for the 49ers. So we have no excuse. Just like we had no excuse week 1, we have no excuse for this week. So those are some players to spotlight. All right, let's go to the comments quickly. All right. Wishnowski got a 4-year deal. All right, that's good. All right. Everyone's saying what's up. Gavin says, we have the best fullback in the league. Yes. Cal Juszczyk is Gavin's favorite player on the Niners. Never, ever met a fan who supports Cal Juszczyk more like my boy Gavin. Shout out to my boy Gavin who's in the building. Imagine paying someone close to $6 million a year for 3 plays a game. Yeah. Yep. And Gavin is a huge fan of Kyle Juszczyk. All right, now we're going to go to my favorite segment to talk about. It's called By the Numbers. But this year, we're not going to spotlight what happens during the season. But we're going to spotlight the week's game. And you can also talk about your Seattle Seahawks. So let's look at the Seattle offense. just 5 yards under 200 passing yards, 76 rushing yards. So I was a little bit, shocked. Over 271 total yards. So you guys did get the victory, but uh, these numbers don't look good in my opinion. I could be wrong, but let me know what are your thoughts about your offensive production against. And you guys did play the Broncos. So what are your thoughts about how your offense performs? A, B, C. Overall, these are the numbers.
I think sometimes the numbers lie. Stats lie. I know they say men lie, women lie, stats don't, numbers don't. But sometimes, when you're just looking at pure stats and, let's say you didn't watch the game, then I think they can lie to you, And so I think context is always important. And yeah, on the surface, the numbers, the final numbers, 195 passing yards, 76 rushing yards. Anybody could look those numbers and say, like, wow, like what a paltry number. It's just not even high enough. You would think that they came out, with the loss, not a victory, right? But look, Seattle was efficient. Seattle had a defense that was very opportunistic, a defense that was making plays, a defense that was flying, a defense that was maybe not shutting down the Broncos offense, but the defense had a lot to do with Seattle also winning. And Seattle's offense didn't have to punt until the fourth quarter. I think that stat alone almost combats the fact that Seattle didn't put up 200 total passing yards, the fact that they had under 300 total yards. At the end of the day, the defense, played a role. Geno Smith was efficient. Geno Smith didn't turn the ball over. The offense didn't have to punt until the fourth quarter. The offense was efficient in the run game. Like you talked about, Rashad Penny averaged 5 yards a pop. And the Denver's defense is good. I understand they have a new defensive coordinator in place, but this team finished as a top 5 defense. And yes, Vic Fangio is no longer there, but a lot of the personnel still is. And they brought in new talent, Randy Gregory, DJ Jones, on top of Patrick Surtain and one of the best safeties in football. I know he's out, but he also did play in that game, Justin Simmons. You know what I mean? And so they have names, they have players that they're working with. But I think sometimes the numbers lie. And in this instance, it kind of is lying to the people. Don't let those numbers fool you because Seattle's offense was efficient. It was lethal. And they kind of stalled in the second half, but they also did have a fumble or a turnover when DK was, trying to do a little too much. And so I think provided some context, those numbers don't look nearly as bad.
Yeah. And you also look at these numbers over here. DK Metcalf, 7 catches, 36 yards. So that didn't look fun. 60 yards, which is pretty good. 5 yards per carry with Rashard Penny. And the Broncos defense, did pretty good against you guys. And 100%, I agree with that. So, like, the biggest thing that was said to me, it's about that W. You guys got the W. You guys got that hard victory, which is all that matters. But why was your pass catcher only able to get 36 yards?
Well, I think one of the plays they actually threw it to DK behind the line of scrimmage, and he had a big loss. I think he lost what was it, 5, 6, maybe even 7 yards on that one play because he was trying to make something happen in space, but then a whole bunch of defenders kind of just closed in on him. He went another direction and ended up taking a huge loss. And so I think those numbers would look slightly better if he didn't have that loss. But Seattle and Geno Smith just didn't really push the ball down the field to their wide receivers like that. And so I think that's why his yardage output is the way that it was.
Yeah. So now let's go to the defense, and again, these are the numbers. So let's look at what the defense did overall. Of course, tackles. You guys had a lot of tackles, but 2 sacks. So you were able to get Russell Wilson. 6 tackles for loss. Basically, you tackled the running backs behind the line of scrimmage 6 different times. Pass deflections 4 times. You guys forced 2 fumbles. Of course, the iconic fumble at the goal line when you guys forced that fumble. Good defense at the goal line. 2 fumble recoveries, but you guys did give up a lot of passing yards. So overall, when you looked at your defense, besides the passing yards, like, were a lot of those yards basically like garbage yards from Russell Wilson?
No, I wouldn't say they're garbage yards. He did put up 340 passing yards, and that's definitely a feat. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you could put up as many yards as you want. If you're not scoring touchdowns, if you're not capitalizing and scoring points, touchdowns, not field goals in the red zone, then maybe it's just a byproduct of the way the defense is playing you. Seattle, especially in the last couple of years, has been known as a defense that's bend but don't break. They'll give up yards. They allow a lot of things to happen in front of them, But at the end of the day, when it comes to, you know, needing to get a stop on third down or needing to get a stop in the red zone, Seattle, they're strong in that regard. They finished as a top 10 red zone defense, you know, in the last couple of years. I know that's been something that they, you know, definitely hang their hats on. And so, I'm not super worried about that. They did give up a lot, but a lot of the passes that Russell Wilson was throwing, he was throwing underneath a lot. I mean, you look at running back Javonte Williams, he had 11 catches for 60 plus yards. And I'd never seen Russell Wilson check down that much before. I'd never seen him target the tight ends that much in the passing game. And who knows? Maybe that's a byproduct of their new scheme. But I just think that when you look at the numbers, you know, a lot of it was just because Seattle plays that way. They gave up everything in front of them, but when it mattered most, they're bend but don't break.
Mm-hmm. So David has a question. There's a bunch of emojis. So Steezy, do you think the Sea Chickens or Seahawks go after a quarterback in this next draft? Do you have a haul from the Broncos?
First of all, I just want to say what's up, David. What's up, Tommy? Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Always love seeing you guys here. To answer your question, David, I don't know who the Sea Chickens are, but I do know who the Seahawks are. And so I'm going to assume you're talking about the Seahawks. I'm going to say, yeah, you know, even though Geno Smith is playing well, even though Drew Lock is still only 25 years old, I mean, you got to take a quarterback. And John Schneider coming over from that Green Bay Packers front office, they were always a team, you know, that scouted quarterbacks, whether or not they had a quarterback or two on the roster. It's just something that he does. You know, hence the fact that when Russell Wilson was still in town, they were scouting and they were at the pro days of Patrick Mahomes, of Josh Allen. And so, yeah, especially given all the assets that Seattle has, 2 first-round picks, 1 from Denver, 2 second-round picks, another one from Denver, you'd have to think that Seattle will take a quarterback no matter where they're drafting, you know, top 10, top 5, top 12. There's going to be a lot of quarterbacks to choose from, and I definitely want to pick one so that Seattle not only has one for now, but for the future as well.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to move on to the 49ers. Basically, these are, you know, some standouts from the 49ers game. Of course, everyone's going to be looking at the completion percentage of Trey Lance. And I have a lot to say about this. 164 passing yards, 1 interception. Deebo Samuel had 52 rushing yards, 6.5 carries. So everyone in the offseason who was like crying, oh, Deebo doesn't want to be – he carried the ball 8 times, 52 yards. So I'm not sure our media, you know, came up with that weird idea. And then Talanoa Hufanga was probably the best player overall. 11 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, 1 interception. But I want to get your thoughts on Trey Lance's performance. Are you worried about Trey Lance, or do you think, all right, you know, Trey Lance is not going to do good against the Seahawks?
You know, before I touch on Trey Lance, I just want to say Talanoa Hufanga is a straight dog. I mean, oh my gosh, this guy was just absolutely all over the place last week. If Uchenna Nwosu didn't win NFC Defensive Player of the Week, I'd strongly consider giving it to Talanoa Hufanga. I mean, I remember even watching this guy on special teams last year for you guys. I was just like, bro, who is this guy? Like, this guy is nice. And to finally see him as a starter, you know, on your guys' defensive side of the ball, you know, I love to see that. Not only that, you know, he's a Oos, he's Polynesian. And so it's always cool to see a brother, you know, doing his thing, succeeding in the NFL. So I'm definitely watching out for him. Definitely, he's going to be a threat to look out for, you know, as it pertains to my Seattle Seahawks offense. But, John, to answer your question about Trey Lance, I'm not going to give up on Trey Lance just yet. You know, obviously, and everyone's talked about this, there was a monsoon in Chicago. George Kittle didn't play. Elijah Mitchell obviously was lost for the game after, I think, the first half. In the offensive line, there's a whole bunch of new faces, and so he hasn't really had that time to gel. Obviously, he still has Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk at his disposal. Juwan Jennings actually put up a respectable performance as well. And so there's still a lot of time, and we expected this. I expected there to be growing pains. I expected Trey Lance to struggle somewhat, especially to start off the season. And so I'm not worried yet, but I also don't think it's crazy to say that right now I trust Geno Smith more than I trust Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm. Before I give you my thoughts on Trey Lance, so I grew up, you know, I played sports, you know, in high school. I had a lot of friends who were Samoan, a lot of friends who were, you know, Filipino, you know, things like that. And the Samoan guys, they excelled in football. Those guys were good. They were basically like, you say that they were like big dudes, very cuddly, soft-hearted people, nice dudes. So Talanoa Hufanga, you know, like a lot of people have been saying, is he the next Troy Polamalu? Well, we'll see in the next 3 years. But Troy Polamalu worked out with them before he got drafted. So hopefully, if that Troy Polamalu, what he did with the Pittsburgh Steelers, hopefully he's our Troy Polamalu. And yeah, Talanoa Hufanga. I'm a California Berkeley fan. I do watch Stanford, not the biggest Stanford, fan, but Talanoa Hufanga, I saw him live at the Bears, California Berkeley's stadium, and this guy was a beast. I saw him many times on television, and the only reason why he fell, to the 5th, 6th round last year's draft because he had a 4.7 40 time. So if this guy had a good 40 time, he would have been drafted in the 1st round. This guy is really, really good. So I want to talk about Talanoa Hufanga because one of my friends, close friends, is Samoan, and I know a lot of Samoan people. And of course, true story. I think a lot of people already know this, but The Rock was born in Hayward, California, in the East Bay, and there is a wrestling performance center, little independent, tiny one, run by The Rock's distant cousin. So we have a big Samoan fan base out here. So they're very excited that he was drafted to the 49ers. So let's get that out the way.
But John, I think because if I'm not mistaken, one of my homies, he's Tongan, and he told me that Hufanga is actually Tongan, not Samoan.
Oh, my bad.
Anyway. No, I just want to clarify that.
Yeah. Hey, I was wrong. Hey, I'm wrong, but yeah, no, Polynesian, that culture, good people. Guess who's in the building? Shout out to this guy, Talanoa Hufanga. Yes, Talanoa Hufanga is smart, plays faster than his 40 time. He's a great tackler. Yep. Mm-hmm. And then CG wants to say The Rock is a 49er fan. Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's the wrong team.
Oh man, he said that's the wrong team. Well, he's from the Bay Area. He either would have been a Raider fan or a Niner fan.
Mm-hmm.
So, right. But if he was born in Seattle, he would have been a Seattle fan. So
no, of course, it was all jokes.
All right. And then all right. So when it comes to Trey Lance, I'm not going to give him any. I'm not going to be giving them a pass because Justin Fields was also playing in the rain. The offense of the Bears was also playing in the rain. The Niners defense were playing in the rain. The 49ers offense were playing in the rain. So a lot of people who would say it was raining. At the end of the day, both teams were playing in the rain. It's just that Justin Fields made better opportunities on important plays that got them 3 touchdowns. So the Bears executed well, and the 49ers, we basically broke at the worst moment at the end of the game. But I'm not going to say that this is an indicator of Trey Lance for week 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to week 18. We knew the growing pains, and I called it. So it's going to be raining again. I'm not sure how bad it's going to be, but it at this moment, there's no rain. The sun's popping out a little bit, so not sure. Well, when is it going to rain? But in the morning, when I wake up tomorrow morning and I look out the window, I'll see when the rain comes in here. So that's my thoughts about that. And of course, Debo Samuel. Tommy drops a $2 super chat. He says, "Fight on USC." Oh man, I don't know. I like my boy Tommy. No disrespect. Don't know why he likes USC. Can't stand USC. They think they're better than everyone for some reason. Don't get it. All right. David says, "Steezy, you cracked me up, buddy. It's all good. Mad respect." There you go.
Come on, man. What's up, David?
Everyone is saying what's up in the chat. All right. Okay. So let's go to the 49ers overall offensive numbers. The Niners dominated the game, 340 total yards, and we dominated just like no matter what. The run game dominated very well, 176 rushing yards. And then, of course, on the defense side of the ball, what the Niners did, we sacked Justin Fields twice, 6 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections, 1 INT, and we only allowed 214 total yards against the Bears, and we still lost. So I want to get your thoughts on looking at these numbers. Do you think the Seahawks have to do some adjustments to take away the Niners' strength and on defense? Are you worried about our defense?
Well, to answer your second question, I'm definitely worried about you guys' defense. You guys have a whole bunch of dogs on defense, especially, and obviously there's more than this, but Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, who I think had a sack on Justin Fields last week. Talanoa Hufanga, who already talked about. Travarius Ward, who had a great, I think, season debut for the Niners. Is Jimmy Ward out?
Yeah, he's out.
Okay, he's out. Because I was going to say Jimmy Ward is another player that I respect, and he's definitely a tough player to face off against, but he's not even going to be there. Fred Warner, arguably the best linebacker in the league. If it's not Shaquille Leonard, it's Fred Warner. And so, or Roquan Smith. There's a couple of guys vying for that top spot, but yeah, to answer your second question, John, that defense, you guys got dogs. It's one of the best defenses in all of football. There's also, what's his name? Dre Greenlaw. He's on one of my fantasy teams because I do play in a couple of leagues where we have individual defensive players. And so I'm familiar with Greenlaw. There's a lot of dogs, on your guys' defense. Samson Ebukum, who you touched on earlier. Yes, there's a lot of guys that Seattle's offense do have to be worried about. To go back to your first question, though, and Seattle, yeah, they're going to have to make a lot of adjustments, especially offensively. Ken Walker, rookie running back out of Michigan State, is going to be making his NFL debut. And so you got to expect him to be mixed in alongside of Rashad Penny. I think Seattle they do have to run the football a little bit more. They have to utilize a little bit more play action. I think you want to utilize, a couple of deep shots. You want to take a couple of shots to not only DK Metcalf, but Tyler Lockett. I thought Geno Smith did a magnificent job of getting everyone involved. I think there was about 8 pass catchers that touched the ball, in that week 1 victory over the Broncos. But I'd like to see more running the football. I'd like to see more play action. I'd like to see more deep shots. And I want to continue to see, Geno Smith be efficient and not turn the football over. And he was also scrambling, from time to time, and he looked good while doing so. So Seattle's offense is going to have to make a few adjustments, especially in going up against a defense loaded with dogs.
Mm-hmm. David said 12 penalties for 99 yards. We beat ourselves and gave Justin Fields the opportunity to beat us. Yes, and again, I've said it all week. Like, there were 4 opportunities that the Bears went off the field and we're going to get the ball back, and 4 bad mistakes cost us 4 important penalties that allowed the Bears to get quality drives. So I've said my piece about that. All right, so before we move on to the next topic, I want to get the fans to put their final score and who wins. Again, this year we're not going to do no predictions for our teams. Of course, we want our teams to win. So let's see what the chat says. So the chat is going to be adding the scores. But now comes to the end of the segment called Keys to Victories, 49ers and Seahawks. So what do the Seahawks have to do, keys to victories, to get their second victory of the year and hold on to first place?
I think my first key, and I kind of already touched on this, but I know that San Fran's going to want to load up the box. I know that San Fran knows and expects Seattle to run the football with Ken Walker and Rashad Penny. So I need to see Geno Smith take advantage of that. I need to see him stretch the field by throwing more deep shots, taking more deep shots, excelling on play action. I want to continue to see him scramble and get loose because he's definitely good at doing so. But my first key to victory for the Seattle Seahawks is Geno Smith has got to stretch the football field because San Fran is going to load up the box. And so you got to take advantage of some of the opportunities that you're going to have and potentially throwing the ball deep if you can utilize DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in that regard.
Yeah. And CG says, are you worried about Geno Smith?
Me?
Yeah, I think he's asking you, CZ.
So I'm not super worried about him because in his last, 5 starts, he's yet to throw an INT. And I'm knocking on wood now because I'm hoping that I don't jinx that. But if I'm more worried about a quarterback, and I said this earlier, I'm more worried about Trey Lance right now than I am about Geno Smith.
Yeah. All right. I want to say what's up to my boy Chad, who's a Steelers fan. Thanks for tuning in.
What up, Chad?
What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in. So these are the keys to victory for the 49ers. Very, very, very simple. No penalties. Let's learn from the last game. Basically, take away the penalties, we should be good. 99 yards of penalty. That's a lot of yards for a lot of penalties. Next, put more points than the other team. It's a very simple concept, but if you score more points than the other team at the end of the game and you have the victory, that's how you win the football game. So the Niners, after this is so weird how a 10-point lead, which is continuing to link the 49ers with Kyle Shanahan, another 10-point lead that we blew at the end of the game. So better coaching, better coaching. Change it up, Kyle. I think Kyle this year is going to be the biggest Achilles heel for the 49ers. out of everything. It's going to be Kyle. It's no longer this team is so talented. We have so many good players on offense, so many good players on defense. It's going to come down to how Kyle coaches. And one of the things about Kyle that I do not like is he has 60 plays already. He is scripted and he does not adjust for some reason. He has to adjust because if you guys have the lead and he continues to go on script and we punt the ball back to you and you guys capitalize just like you did last week against the Broncos, this is not going to be good for the 49ers. So Kyle Shanahan is going to be the biggest reason that we win or lose this game. So that is my keys to victory. All right. So before we end this wonderful show, I want to get the fans who's going to win, who's going to lose, and what the final score is. I want to know what the fans have. So that's the question in the chat. Let's see. All right. So, all right. CG says Danny Gray's debut. Yep. And we got to play this kid. Chad says I got the Niners beating the Seahawks. So he's has the Niners beating the Seahawks. So Chad. And then Tommy says 18-17. Ooh, a very tight game. So 18-17. What do you think about this score? Do you think it's too low or do you think it's around there?
I think that's perfect. My score is a little bit higher, but 18-17. I mean, I expect this to be a dog. I expect to be at a dog pound. I expect this to be a slugfest. I expect this to be war. I expect this to be, what all divisional games are supposed to be like, or what they're usually like, especially between these two teams. And so I love that score prediction. I just don't love the winner.
All right. And then CG says Niners 20, Seahawks 14. If it rains, normal weather, it is 24-13. Wow. So basically, Seattle, which is known for a lot of rains, you guys don't know how to play in the rain. So that's a little bit confusing to me. I don't know what you think about that, Steezy.
I think CG is a little crazy for that, but I understand, you do got to, show out and go out for your Niners. I think that score is a little crazy, but, at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. Obviously he is going to be rooting for the Niners. And so I expect nothing less.
All right. CG says, knock on wood, Geno throws an interception. Do you think that? All right. I never do no predictions. If the interceptions happens, they happen. It's not because you knock on wood or. All right. David says 24-17. He says he has to say sorry. Nice guy, very nice guy. He wants to apologize.
Hey, only apologize if you guys end up winning. That's when you apologize, David. But I appreciate it.
All right. Chad says the only two players I like on the Seahawks is Geno and Metcalf. Okay.
Right. That's truly unfortunate because my guy Chad, you're missing out on a lot of great players on that Seahawks defense.
Yeah. I'm unsure if Lockett will play better. He didn't do much last week. I don't know what that
I think that's more so Geno Smith just not really looking in his direction and not needing to look in his direction. But I don't think that was just Tyler Lockett looking bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, just like always, this was a great show. We talked a lot of football. And I'm going to say this. Good luck to the team that wins. If your team wins, good luck. If my team wins, good luck. Because at the end of the day, we both want our teams to win. But just like we always do here on 49ers Ultimate Report YouTube channel, let the fans know who you are, where they can find you, and talk about your channel, and talk about what you also do besides covering the Seattle Seahawks.
Hey, my guy, John Jay, again, thank you so much for having me on. To all the fans that tune in, that showed love. What's up, you guys? I hope you guys had a great show. Thanks for tuning in. Name's Calvin Domingo, a.k.a. Steezy A. Smith. I don't just cover the Seahawks. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, TikTok as well. I'm going to start using that again. But like I said, I also give out fantasy football advice. Once the NBA season comes back around, I will be covering and talking about the NBA. Now I have been sloughing on YouTube. I haven't been putting out nearly as much content as I should be, but now that the season is in full swing, I'm looking to get back into that. But if you play fantasy football, I do drop advice on Twitter and on Instagram, so be sure to follow me there at Steezy A. Smith. The handle is right here, and then on YouTube as well at Steezy A. Smith. Like I said, I don't just cover the Seahawks. I try to do all NFL, and I try not to have as much bias as possible. So if you're worried about any sort of bias, never fear. Steezy A. Smith is here. But John Jay at the 49ers Ultimate Report, definitely be sure to show him some love. YouTube and Instagram right there, 49ers Ultimate Report.
Also, I just found out, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard you're going to be also on Jay and the Base channel. Just wanted to make sure if
I
that's
am. Yeah, I'm gonna be there tomorrow, pregame. This is gonna be right before the game at 1:05 p.m. Pacific time, but at 12 o'clock p.m. Pacific time on Jay and the Bay's YouTube channel, we are gonna be previewing the 49ers and the Seahawks pregame. So definitely
yeah.
be sure to check that out. Jay and the
Yeah,
Bay.
yeah. So check out my boy Steezy on Jay and the Bay, who's a really good dude. I owe my success to Jay and the Bay. I hope he's listening because uh, he subscribed to my channel when I barely had 80 subscribers. So, and I owe a lot of success of my success to him because he's the pioneer of us the little small guys doing this show. So shout out to Jay in the Bay, and that's how I got to know you, man. Jay in the Bay. So I'll be watching that, supporting Jay in the Bay and you. So I wanted to say that because I want to help out Jay in the Bay because he doesn't get a lot of credit in the Niners community, in my opinion.
Right. Well, thank you for doing that. I almost forgot.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, and I don't know if you ever heard of this wonderful, just at the end of the show, Jade, a Minnesota Vikings content creator. Hey, y'all, late to the show, but happy football season. Shout out to my girl, Jade. Yeah, she's a
How you doing, Jay?
Minnesota Vikings. She's been on the show a few times. Hopefully, one day you invite me to your show, Jade, so I can meet all your great fans out there. Nicest person. And she's almost at 1K. Get her to 1K. So spread her channel out. Just type in that so she can get the 1K because she
Hey,
deserves it.
I just want to say, Jade, I got the Vikings as my dark horse contender in the NFC, and I got your Vikings being the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football, 31-26. Vikings always a team that I've rooted for because Adrian Peterson is my favorite player of all time. So, just on the side and see how fans don't read too much into this, but go Vikes.
All right. Hey, fellas. Hey, John Jay. Yep. Thanks for the shout out. Yeah, I will always shout out my girl Jay. She's very knowledgeable. I saw her on another live stream yesterday. So yeah, she's doing good work. But with that said, everybody, this show is coming to an end. Good luck to the Niners and the Seahawks. But with that said, I'm John Jay with Steezy A. Smith. You know where to find him. Just type in that, and his YouTube channel pops in, and he does also a lot of other great things as well. But with that said, I'm John Jay. This is the 49ers Ultimate Reports. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'm going to hit the outro.